Up to a certain size of the platform, we have we are absolutely clear about how we would want to execute, for example, powertrains, how we would want to execute batteries. But and this is not the problem on this particular platform, or definitely not on the curve. But as cars start to become larger in a more generalistic way, you start to have challenges about whether you would want to do an all-wheel drive or a two-wheel drive only. Fortunately, the platform is good enough to be able to adapt to these requirements. But these are essentially factors governing laws of physics and how you manage the overall mass within the car. And on that is dependent the choice of whether you want to have a certain size of a motor, because along with that motor comes the ability to deliver performance. Now, if you are not in a position to obey the laws of physics, that performance sitting there is of no applicable utility. And therefore, there are a whole host of questions that need to be optimized on before you choose on what kind of drive configuration you want to do. You also spoke about what are the challenges in terms of the structure. So, because of the way that batteries can be packed underneath, it is possible for us to give a relatively or nearly flat floor inside the cabin, which will be able to give a feeling of walk-in or walk-through cabins. And this is such a huge liberating aspect from a design perspective or from a user convenience perspective, which ICE cars will always find it a little challenging. So, how do you adapt this differences when you do different powertrains? Are the kind of challenges and questions that we as engineers have to solve, and which is what some of these solutions will be given when the curve comes out into production. So it would, while the ideal or while the intent would be to have it as similar as possible, various geometric reasons would not permit it to happen as such in an exactly identical manner. But that's where it is about the platform which enables these kind of flexibilities to take place by modifying only a certain part of the structure and not everything within the structure. And that's how we will be able to manage. So you choose the powertrain on the basis of multiple requirements. Like you said, there will always be a requirement in terms of performance. And we've chosen to always make sure that the powertrains that we do on any specific electric vehicles would be better in terms of performance as compared to the ICE siblings that we would have on that particular product. The same thing would continue going forward. The second aspect that you need to look at is the powertrain technology is also evolving today. So earlier there were induction motors. Today people talk about permanent magnet motors. Within the permanent magnet motors, people are talking about inverter technology. For example, silicon carbide inverters which improve efficiency. There's a whole host of things that's going on. But each of this is accompanied with a certain cost element as well as a certain performance element. Now, how do you balance out these requirements? What is the need of the market is an important determinant that we need to all look into. For example, a silicon carbide inverter would probably give you a couple of percentage points of benefit, but if you're not able to really realize that because of the cost implication that is there, would you really want to do it? Does it apply itself better over a certain power and battery range, or below a certain power range also it becomes equally usable? Are questions that need to be answered. But you need to look at generations of the motor technologies to see whether what you are getting into does it applicate suitably into the product that you're trying to create. The second aspect is also about how do you bring this entire package together, and how does the size of the motor and the vehicle performance in a crash, how does it manage the overall thing. So again, multiple technologies, coaxial reducers, offset reducers, the efficiency factors between that. So there's a whole host of factors that we need to look at. Eventually, I think it's these three important things: efficiency, cost, and the applicability across platforms that we would look at in order to do the powertrains that we do.